Hello guys, welcome back to Relab Live. Today I have another practical tip for you. Something that I think we do quite well over here is presenting the work that we have for the client. So whether it's at a concept stage, whether it's a final version of a visual design, or even just presenting the research that we've done. In this particular example, I'd like to talk to you about the steps on how we do it and how it has helped us tremendously in building that trust and building that rapport with the customer. Therefore, it's easy to get a buy-in from the client, something that hopefully will help you in your own practice. So one of the things that you could do for yourself before you plan on any type of presentation of your idea is to make sure that you visualize what the end result will be. So let's say that you wanted this to be a successful presentation, therefore here are the things that you need to do and work backwards from there. So I've just listed down some of the key points that I think, and they're very high level, but I think they're very important when you're about to present something, whether it be a digital design idea or really it could be any of your other ideas. So the first thing that I'd like to start with is work from the end. So one of the things that is most important for you is to have a sense of confidence. You need to be confident about your idea. It needs to be something that you believe in truthfully. It needs to be something that you're able to sell. Only by being confident about it that you'll be able to sell your idea. So start with confidence. The next one is truthfulness. What does it mean? To me, it means that you're talking about the truth. And for you to find out the truth, that you need to know your craft as well. So if we're talking about digital design, you need to be a good digital designer, that you know what the best practices are. Therefore, any type of questions, inquiries, challenges that come to your way during the presentation itself, you could instantly react to it, and it's the right type of reaction as well. So truthfulness, know your craft, build a case. So prior to getting to that final stage of presentation, you need to build a case over time. The way to build a case is to investigate and to document the right type of points that you need to be able to support your design as well, or your idea, because then your design becomes less subjective to you. It becomes a lot more objective because of the case that you've built over time. The way to do that is obviously by doing research, making sure that you become a really good listener, understanding the brief, and documenting things that are needed. Therefore, when you present the idea, you have a series of facts that no one could really argue about because it's been built over time, and therefore your idea makes sense. At the end of the day, you want to present something that makes sense, not subjective to you, but it is objective, okay? And to be able to do all steps number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you need to pick the right challenge. Make sure that you are the right person to be addressing the challenge. You have the right team members to address the challenge, and therefore you're not stepping into something that you don't know about, because that's when you shoot yourself in the foot. Now, obviously, you can work the other way around, where you can start from the beginning, which is pick the right challenge, step number 1. Step number 2 is to investigate and document, and then build case over time within your project period. Know your craft, because then you know how to use the tools, you know what the best technical practices are. And you're working on the truth, because you know that you're doing the right thing based on everything that you've built so far, or you've investigated so far, and therefore when the time comes for you to present it, you know the reasons why you're doing it, and that you're presenting something that makes complete sense. Now I'm going to show you a quick example on how we are able to do it, and I'll pick a few bits and pieces from projects in the past, but I'll take you through the exact same steps on how we would do this, starting from making sure that we're the right team to do this, picking the right challenge. So now we know that we're the right team member for the type of challenge. I'm going to take a typical website project for Relab. So for example, we've identified ourselves as the right team for the challenge, and we've identified that it's the right client for us to work with, and they know that we are the right team members that can bring value to them. And so therefore we start the project, right? There's that mutual understanding that we're good to work with, we're fit enough to work with the client. So one of the things that we'd like to do is obviously investigate what their needs are. And the way to do that is there's so many other ways of doing it, but as you know, if you've been following our program or our channel, we do a lot of design sprint type of workshops, and part of it is pretty much going through goals and questions and making sure that you gather the type of aspirations that the clients or the stakeholders may have. And the way we do it here is we just document through processes of workshops and sprints. And for example, going through some goals, some questions. There's over here, we've got some low fidelity sketches of inspirations and aspirations of other products or other websites that the stakeholders might like. And we document that knowing exactly what the big idea is and everything. That's basically a lightning demo process, and we will link on how to do the lightning demo down here in the description. But I'll move away to this other side. Basically what we're doing is we're trying to investigate, document the needs, making sure that we are becoming a really good listener and knowing exactly what is needed and what is required. So as we're doing this, we're actually building a case as well. So that's one of the walls that we had. If you saw the previous episode, we might have had one of these, but it's just some post-its on affinity mapping and based on the user feedback, or based on the feedback that we've received. So that's been documented. I won't go into too much details on how we do it. I think that deserves another video. But essentially what I'm taking you through is some of the things that we do in our effort trying to investigate and document the requirements and the needs. And all of this stuff that we call artifacts gives us information as designers or as team members on the next decision that we need to do while we're building a case on top of what we've found during the discovery process. So guys, I'm gonna picture the situation where our research process or the earlier discovery process has been done. Therefore, you've kind of like built the case, you've documented it, and I usually do that in a form of photos. If not, we re-record the stuff that we had on the whiteboard into a specific document, depending on the type of effort that you wanted to spend on those type of research. Oftentimes, usually, as long as we have photos, it's actually more than enough, and I end up presenting the photos to the stakeholders, or we do a lot of co-designing process as well, where the stakeholders would have been involved as part of that discovery process in a workshop environment, that we don't really need to record the stuff that we had on the whiteboard other than photos. All right, so I'm gonna picture a situation when that process is done. Now we've gone into a design mode. So there are situations where we would start with a wireframe. There are situations where we would start into visual design straight away, depending on the type of challenge, the timeline, and a couple of other variables. But I'll get into the point about knowing your craft. So knowing your craft means you know what the best practices are, and you know the type of tools to use, and you're efficient on it, and you pretty much master the type of things that you require to be able to make that design vision a reality. Here in Relab, we use Figma a lot because that enables us to be a lot more efficient during our sprint sessions. It's a collaborative tool that you could use between different users and work on pretty much the same file or the same workspace. I won't get into too much details on how to use Figma and stuff like that, but we do use Figma a lot. I won't even do a tour, as a matter of fact, but what we have in the background is an interface of Figma. From there, what we do is we decide on, earlier we decided on whether we wanted to wireframe it or we wanted to jump into straight visual design. This work right here in the background is an example of how we would have wireframed it. We would have used Figma as a tool, but we use InVision when we wireframe, and we stitch up stitch up pages using InVision. And it's kind of what it looks like. It's just the structure of the website without having too much details on content or imagery or even design styling, although our wireframes tend to be pretty high fidelity in terms of its level of accuracy. We obviously present wireframes not just in one breakpoint, but multiple breakpoints. So for example, we've got this one here, which is a mobile device. Oftentimes we try to present the mobile device first, then the desktop, or the desktop first, then the mobile device, depending on the type of challenge that we're facing. If it's hugely mobile oriented, then it'll be a mobile first version, or if it's hugely on desktop in terms of user interaction, then we focus first on desktop. Once you go past the wireframing stage, that's when we design visuals. So linking back to the same type of project, here is a version where we start looking at visuals. We've added images, we've became a little bit more anal on the type of fonts that we use, the colors, how the buttons look, even thinking about interactions and other animation or micro interactions that you may have in the page. So that carries on, and similar to the wireframe, we would have done a couple of versions as well on mobile. Or when required, we would do a funny breakpoint like a tablet, for example. But then you go from wireframe and visual design, and once you're done with that, then that's pretty much your concept. So in terms of presenting a digital design concept, I think the best way to do this is for you to have already built that case earlier on, as I was explaining, because when you're presenting your design or your wireframes to your clients, you can reason on I guess the objective purposes around the reason why you do that design, or the reason why you've executed the design in that particular way. The other thing that is quite important when you do digital in particular is to try and put it into context. So here I have an example of a very simple exercise of designing an email, a HTML email signature. So one of the things that we'd like to do is to put it into context. So the whole background is not necessarily a real email client, but it's more of just an image that we stitched up together to put the design, which is this area right here, into context. That way the client can picture where or how the design would appear in real life. Okay, so putting things into context is very, very important. I guess that is mainly it. So coming back to the idea that we wanted to build confidence, and at the end of the day you wanted to present a design that you believe in, that it actually shows when you present something that you truly believe in, and you know that it can make an impact, or you know that you're doing the right thing, or you know you're presenting something that is not just based on your subjective own opinion, then it will make a difference in the way you present. And hopefully when you do it that way, you could be a lot more effective and a lot more successful as well in your digital design presentation. Hopefully that helps, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, because if not, I'll lose it. I'm joking. Thanks.